So just this past week, I decided I was going to do a makeup basket, but that was geared more towards red and warm toned kind of products that I have that I want to use throughout the season. And my basket filled up quickly and there's more stuff over here. I can't believe how many red products I have. So I just wanted to show you the products that I'm going to be using throughout the next month, 2 months, maybe even a little bit longer than that. This isn't to say that I'm going to be not focusing on the rest of my products because I have a ton and I like to vary it, but I also just want to be focusing really on these colors. My nails are, of course, red, which is perfectly matched with this theme, so let's dive right into this. So I'm going to start by talking about the palettes, which I have plenty of over here, and I think that's the most interesting thing to me, so I just want to start there. This Becca palette, I got this a while ago. This was sent by PR, and I liked it, but I haven't used it enough. So this is the Ombre Rouge palette, which in my opinion was never quite as red as I was hoping it would be, but these tones are absolutely beautiful and I just want to get a little bit more use out of them. I do believe they're all matte, I think, except for that one right there, but these make an absolutely gorgeous eye look. And then, of course, the Kat Von D Shade and Light Rust Quad. I think these were discontinued, but I'm not really sure why because the quality on these is absolutely fantastic. This is more in the warm, rusty side of things, less so in the reds, but every time I create an eye look with this one, I am so happy with it. And on the same color family as that one, I have an Inglot 3 pan that I've put together sometime at some point. And these shadows are beautiful. This is one of my #1 favorite Inglot shadows. These shades are just absolutely stunning. And in sticking with the Inglot shadows, I have a few red and warm tones that I want to get some use out of over the next few months. This was the first ever red eyeshadow that I ever owned, and I love it dearly. And then I've got another orange, and then this one's a little bit more of a salmon color here. And then what would a discussion about warm colors be unless I talked about the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I really like this, but as with most things in beauty, I bought it, wore it for a week or two, if even 2 weeks, and then I kind of went on to the next thing. These shadows are absolutely gorgeous. They apply beautifully, but the look is very samey every time you use it. Like, you don't get a ton of variety just because the shadows all fall under the same like range of shades, but regardless, I love this thing and I want to start using it a little bit more, so that's why it's in this basket. More recent palette that I've gotten is the Zoeva Matte Spectrum palette. I'm mostly going to be focusing on this area right here. This is a gorgeous, it's more like a burnt orange than it is a true red, but this whole section here is absolutely beautiful, and these are all matte shades. And then, of course, how could I talk about these kind of shadows unless I mentioned the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is beautiful and hands down one of my favorite palettes and one that I have traveled with the most. This section here is like what I always am drawn to in eyeshadow, and I'm so glad that they made red eyeshadow mainstream with this palette because the quality is absolutely phenomenal, and I have yet to see Anastasia replicate the amazingness of these shadows in anything else, but I am so glad to own this palette because it is one of the best in my collection. I have been pulling this out quite a bit recently, so I don't really need a reminder to use it necessarily, but I did want to just like point it out in the sense that this is a great palette to pick up if you're looking for something that's kind of in this color vein. The quality is unparalleled. And I want to be popping out this bright little sucker. This is the Visart Editorial Brights palette. I'm only mostly mentioning this because of the warmer shades in there. I, for whatever reason, tend to stick to the blues and the purples and the greens because I don't, for whatever reason, think about the red tones that are in this palette. But there's a solid red and there's more like a aubergine burgundy color that I don't think I've ever touched, but it's showing cracked, so clear. I did drop this at one point, so hence the crack. So I want to get some use out of those, and I mean, this is an expensive palette, so I want to be getting my money's worth out of this guy. And then we have a palette I don't actually really love that much. This is the Violet Voss Pro Eyeshadow Palette in Holy Grail, and I bought this at IMATS New York, I think it was 2 years ago now, and I never fell in love with it, which sounds ridiculous because this color scheme is right up my alley. I mean, this right here is stuff I always look for in an eyeshadow palette. But for whatever reason, whenever I use this palette, I'm never really happy with the results of it. So I just want to use this a few times over the next few months and just find out if I can actually learn to love it, because if not, I should probably just pass it on to somebody who'd appreciate it a little bit more. Then I have a Makeup Geek palette here. This is my reds and oranges palette. There's a lot of yellow in here as well. Some of these colors in the top row are just some of the ones that I always gravitate towards. Razzleberry is this one up here, and that thing is absolute fire. It is fantastic. And then there's a few more warm tones in here that I should be using as well. Flamethrower, gorgeous foiled shadow. So I need to use my Makeup Geek shadows more. I've just, for whatever reason, kind of fallen off using them. So that's why a lot of things are going to be in this video. Then I've got a smaller quad here. This one is by Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Vintage Vamp quad. This is the first ever quad that I bought by Charlotte Tilbury. And I have to admit, these two colors right here may look a minute difference on camera, but they basically come out the same on the eye. And the gold is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, it makes a really beautiful eyeshadow look for Christmas. And then we've got one that was limited edition, and I love this guy so much. This is the Wet n Wild California Roll 6-pan shadow. They don't sell it anymore. It was part of a collection a few years ago now. These colors right here, obviously you know. They're just stunning, and they're some of the best pigmented red shadows that I've found ever. I don't know how Wet n Wild does it, but they are very good at their pigmentation on their eyeshadows, and these guys are absolutely fantastic. We got another palette here. I did do a review on this one, but I didn't really reach for it a ton after that review, just because a lot of the colors are so samey in here. I mean, when you look at this palette, there's so much that's so similar right in this kind of like section. But this is the zone of colors that I am interested in, so I want to be getting some use out of it. And I think I just need to play with it more so that I can find my own variety with these shadows. I feel like I always go towards the same shades, which is mainly this bright quadrant down here. But this is the perfect fall eyeshadow color, and it is not that dissimilar from the Violet Voss palette. So I think I just need to play a little bit more in here. Had to zoom you out a little bit there because the next palette is enormous and it's gonna cause some people heartburn. Oh baby. So this is the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca Remix palette. So many people wanted this and very few got their hands on it. I was right out of the gates buying that the day it launched. And I love this palette, but it's really cumbersome because this packaging is like no one's friend. No one likes to pull out like a freaking palette and hold it awkwardly while they try to apply it. And these shades in here are exactly what this video is about. Like just these warm red, rusty, orange, bronze, deep burgundy shades, and there's a huge section of them here, so I want to use those a lot. Again, I tend to gravitate towards more of the rainbow area over on the other side, I guess the cooler side, and this is where I want to focus on. Got a single liquid liner here to talk about. This is the NYX Vivid Brights in the shade Vivid Fire, I believe. Yep. And then this is just one of those, it's a brush tip liner, but you dip it in, and it is just a beautiful red. I really like red wing liner with a bright red lip. I think it's a gorgeous look, but not a lot of people do it, so I'm excited to do that again. All right, let's talk about some lipstick. The vibrant one that's sticking right out to me is by Lancome. This is part of their Matte Shaker range, and these are incredible. These are not like the tint ones where it's just a little bit of color and mostly some scent, which is predominantly an oil-based one. This one is like a liquid lipstick, which is what they call it, but it's more of a tint. It's a stain on your lips, and they're so good. This stuff doesn't require a lip primer from me, which is unheard of. It's just really, really pretty. So the color that this one is Kiss Me Chérie, and it's, of course, you shake it up, and then it's just a little bit of a, I guess it's a doe foot applicator, but it's kind of like spongy. I can get a super sharp line with this, which I don't really understand because that is not a precise looking applicator, but this one is so good. Then I've got two lipsticks by Revlon, which I do not wear enough, even though I love this brand for lipsticks so much. So this is part of their super lustrous lipstick range, which is like their original formula, and it does not get nearly enough love. So the first one I have here is Fire and Ice, which is just such an iconic shade. I've used a ton of it up. It is a bit more of an orange-based red as opposed to blue-based, which blue-based would be more like my nails. I get compliments on this every time I wear it though, and it's just been too long since I put it on, so I need to bust this guy out for sure. And then the other one is one that you cannot get in Canada, and I don't really understand why. This is Cherries in the Snow, which is a little bit more on the magenta side of things, but it still fits in this kind of category that I'm going for, so I want to wear this guy more. Got some Smashbox ones here. This first one here is called Infrared Matte. And it is, as you would expect, a red shade that is quite matte. It's pretty similar to MAC's Russian Red. And then I have another one here called Canadian Flare, which just makes me smile. So it's more of an orange-based red, and I have not used this one very much. I think I won it in a giveaway on Instagram by Smashbox. Put it on one time and kind of set it aside, which is a little bit sad, so that's why it's in here. And then of course, how could I be talking about red lipsticks without bringing up MAC's Russian Red? This guy is almost done, and I so desperately want to finish this holiday season, just because I've had it for a few years and because I really like the shade. I just, you know, I want to honor it by actually finishing it up. So I'm hoping to get this one done sometime around Christmas. And then lastly, we have some Bite lipsticks here. This first one here is a duo. There is gold on one side, but the other side is the one that I'm kind of be focusing on. Quite a bright shade, I feel like. It tends to look a little bit deep in the tube, but I feel like it does come off quite bright on the lips. And then this one is called Juniper, a little bit more on the pink side of things, but I love this color so much. I believe this was part of the Winter Berries collection that was available only in the US, but I picked it up when I was there, and I wore it constantly last year, so I want to bust that one out again this year. And the last one is a shade that I have not used very much, and this is Cayenne. Again, more on the orange side of things for a red, but still a beautiful shade, and I just really love the Bite Beauty formula, so... Oh, geez, I found more lipsticks. I hadn't realized that were sitting in the pile over there. So these are the Wet n Wild Megalast lipsticks. These are incredible, not only for the price tag, which is very inexpensive. They're something around $3, but they're just good. The colors are amazing, and the pigmentation is unbelievable. So the first one here I have is Cherry Picking. Might as well swatch these because they all look pretty similar. More of a pink-based red. And then we have, what's this guy? Stoplight Red, which is more of an actual red. And then the last one I have here is Red Velvet, which is a little bit brighter. So all of those are kind of, you know, working my jam for this red theme. And then we have the Too Faced Melted in the shade Ruby. I've worn this plenty. I love this. I love this formula so much as well. And then I've got one here by Tarte. This is part of their Quench Lip Rescue Bombs. This one is the shade Cherry. This one is really bright to look at when you're just looking at it straight in the tube, but it does come off as a very sheer wash of color, which is great when you're on the go and you just need something really quick to brighten up your lips. And the last one here I have is by Paul and Joe, and this is part of their holiday release. It had a little bit of a cat imprint on the front, and it's still like through the bullet, but it kind of gets worn down as you wear it. And this is a red balm in the center with a kind of gold clear balm around it. So it mostly comes off as like a pretty color that's a balmy texture. Got liquid lipsticks next. This first one is by Inglot. This is the shade 12, and it's part of their HD Lip Tint Matte range. Beautiful shade. They just recently expanded it and added a few more, but this is the only one that I have. Gorgeous, gorgeous red for the holidays, and it stays put, which is so handy. And then I've got 3 Kat Von D Mini Everlasting Liquid Lipsticks here. So this first one here is Nosferatu. Beautiful red, a little bit deeper in tone, and it does dry a tad bit deeper than this. Gorgeous nonetheless. And then this shade here is Plath, which was a limited edition release last holiday, and then they came out with it as a full version. So you can buy this as a permanent product now. More of a deeper burnt red. It comes off a little bit more rusty in tone. And this last one is just a classic. This is Santa Sangre. This is a bright red, and it looks really, really vibrant. And then lastly for lips, I have 3 Too Faced Melted Mattes here. This first one is their limited edition launch for the holidays. This is Gingerbread Man. This is more of a terracotta color. I thought it was gonna come off very brown, but instead it comes off more dark rust color. This one here is last year's holiday release for Too Faced, and it does fit a little bit more into the pinker side of things than rather the reds. but this is candy cane, and I loved this so much last year. It does smell like candy canes, and it's wonderful. And the last one I have here is Drop Dead Red. This is a darker red shade. This comes off almost black at times, but it's gorgeous nonetheless. All right, the last thing we have to talk about is blush. This is Clinique's Cheek Pop in the shade Cola Pop, and the color is beautiful. I know it looks very deep, and a lot of people get kind of scared by this color, but if you apply it softly and blend it out, it's beautiful. It's that perfect red apple cheek color that you're looking for when you want to look like you came in from the cold. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't flush nicely from the cold. I get like color spots all over my face, but this will make me look like I've got that beautiful Snow White red apple cheek look. Another one that's very similar to that is the NARS Sarah Moon blush from last year's holiday launch. This is the shade Impudique, and it is a little bit more on the pink side with a hint of sparkle to it. It's very, very pretty, and I know you can't get it anymore, but hopefully if you have it in your collection, you'll now think to pull it back out. We've got a new one for me here this year. This is the Too Faced Melting Powder Blush in the shade Peach Berry. This is very similar to Cola Pop. I feel like the tones are very, very similar. And again, this just causes that really, really nice red cheek look, but you gotta go gentle. Like, don't apply too much if you're scared of these kind of colors. Just start small and then build it up, and honestly add a little bit of highlighter on top of it to kind of sheer out that edge, and it's beautiful. Another favorite of mine, and I always forget to reach for these because they sit at the back of my blush drawer. This is Illamasqua's Tweak blush. A little bit more pink, but it does actually come across quite red on the cheeks. Go easy with these blushes though. They are smooth and they blend out very nicely, but there is so much pigment on these that they are kind of lethal. Beautiful color though once you learn how to play with it. I have two NARS multiples here. This first one is the shade Siam, which I got really lucky at a Winners one time and found it there. What a stunning shade. You can use these on the lips too as well, but I really only use these on the cheeks. Beautiful, kind of like poppy red color. And then this other one here was part of the Charlotte Gainsbourg collection, and it's called Jeanette. And it is a little bit more sheer in tone. It looks quite bright on the viewfinder, which I'm looking at right now, but this is more of a sheer formula. So if you apply it, you see how that went on? It's softer, so when you sheer it out, it's not as intense as something like Siam is. So let me just give you a look at that. See how bright that is? And when you sheer that one out, the color spreads. So if you're using the one from the Charlotte Gainsbourg collection, it's a little bit softer in tone. And then we have one here by Tarte. This is called Natural Beauty, and it's a red. It is so, so beautiful. I mean, they all are, and I'm just gonna keep repeating that, but this shade is absolutely glorious. It's a little bit harder packed, so you do need a bit more of a stiffer brush. I tend to use a duo fiber for these. Then we've got one that is super pricey. This is by Burberry. It's one of their lip and cheek blooms in the shade Poppy. I wear this a lot during the spring as well because I feel like it's got that vibrancy to it, but it's also one of those cold weather cheek colors that just seems to suit, like, you know, red lips, red cheeks, that kind of look. So I like this one. It's got a moussey formula, so you can spread it around pretty easily on your cheeks. I think it's stunning. All right, so that's it for this red makeup basket. All the palettes are over here because I just don't have space to put everything in here. I have a lot of red shaded products, and I'm excited to be dipping back into them. Let me know if you guys like the color red, whether it's for cheeks, lips, or eyes. I want to hear more. I know some people are scared to wear it, but I think people are becoming more adapted towards red colors now, so I would encourage you to, you know, step outside of your comfort zone if it's not something you reach for, and, you know, give it a shot. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!